So in 2010, I accepted Islam, and this was after a series of journeys to Palestine, meeting the people there, going first as a journalist and then as an activist.
The most immense sense of happiness and peace, and I don't think I've come to a point where I've been so happy and so alive. It was the best feeling in the world. So before I entered the mosque, I was an atheist. My life didn't have much meaning. I didn't believe there was a creator. I thought after death, that was it.
Around 7 years old, I was like, what? You know, this was like a light bulb moment where I realized that I don't believe in this faith. I do not believe Jesus is God. Me, Muslim? I'm not going to be a Muslim. What are you talking about? Islam is a terrorist religion. These people are evil. America and other countries were going into Iraq and Afghanistan. I remember watching it on the news.
Islam is currently the fastest growing religion in the world, which may come as surprise to many, considering the amount of negative coverage it constantly receives in the media. There are currently 1.8 billion Muslims in the world, and that is nearly 1/4 of the world population, making it the world's second largest religion after Christianity. But why is this the case? Why are people converting to Islam? Let's listen to the stories of famous people and why they converted to Islam.
How did you first hear about Islam? What was your last step towards accepting Islam? And how was your family's reaction?
I was in an elevator going, oh God, big Arab man with a gun, bigger Arab man with a gun. Kill the white woman later. And the translation that my mind gave me, we'll kill the white woman later. And I said, no, there's no way I can be Muslim. No way, not me.
How did you first hear about Islam?
I guess the first time I really took notice of Islam was in 2001 after 9/11. I remember watching the footage seeming to show planes go into the Twin Towers, and I was sitting with a young child thinking, what poor country is going to be made to pay for this? If Islam was a threat to the West, it'd been around for 1400 years and billions of people followed it. They could have just taken the West or done awful things. So one act does not mean the whole of the Muslim world is responsible for one act by a small group of people. What is that? It's a political decision to impact and inflict upon Muslim people. And I didn't get behind that. I couldn't in my heart get behind that. There are those who say that they are believers, but in their heart is hypocrisy. And, you know, they know they're not telling the truth. And Allah hates the liars. I mean, basically, it was calling me out on my hypocrisy and telling me that I was going to go to the hellfire. So I had this Holy Quran given to me as a gift, and I opened it one day when my children were at work, and I thought, okay, I'll wash my hands. I know they wash their hands. And this is a very serious book. I took it seriously. It wasn't my scripture, but it was a scripture. It might be a real scripture. So let me read it with respect. So I read Al-Fatiha, and I thought, okay, that's like the Lord's Prayer. Same thing. Worship God alone, ask Him alone, thank Him alone, don't be evil, do good. I'm fine. So Surah Al-Fatiha was fine. It was in line with my Christian beliefs. But then came Surah Baqarah, because I believed in God, but I wasn't doing anything about it. And I was making bad decisions and not being a good person and not worshipping and not bothered about it. And I was lying. And I closed the Quran and I thought, oh my God, I had this cold feeling. It was a hot day, but absolute terror. And for me, the Quran was terrifying. So I took it and I put it on a high shelf and I thought, wow, nice people, crazy book. Because I'd never seen God so angry before. And He was angry at me.
I had very negative perceptions about Muslims, especially there was many attacks in the UK from extremists, and the media has a very good way of making that stereotype to 2 billion people when it's just a handful of bad people making those choices. I would cross the street if I saw a woman wearing a hijab in London. That's how bad my mind was affected by the media in the UK, because I didn't give myself the opportunity to really learn what Islam was about.
How did you hear about Islam for the first time?
That goes back probably 20 years, when we go back to the story of 9/11. The first time I heard about Islam in a very negative way. And if we're talking more of a positive thing, I learned about Islam probably 3 years ago from traveling, meeting these people, and then I really learned about Islam when I read the Quran last year during lockdown. The most immense sense of happiness and peace, and I don't think I've come to a point where I've been so happy and so alive. It was the best feeling in the world. So before I entered the mosque, I was an atheist. My life didn't have much meaning. I didn't believe there was a creator. I thought after death, that was it. And once I entered the mosque and I took the Shahada and I took those words and I said those words, I was so happy, and I felt like my life went from black and white to color. It was the best feeling in the world.
You're a Muslim?
I am.
When did you become Muslim?
When I was 17.
What were the circumstances?
I don't know, it was like believing in God and stuff. When I was 17, I was living in Washington, and there was a pizza shop across from my house. And it was like all these Muslim dudes that worked in there. And I used to go in there and crack jokes. And I was a naturally curious guy, and I would ask him questions about his religion. And the guy was so passionate about it was very compelling. I like the perspective of it, and I think these things informed my decision that I wanted to have a meaningful life, a spiritual life.
Upon researching Islam, many realized how its doctrine is simple and rational, the most crucial factor in Islam that differentiates it from other religions. It to believe in God and that Muhammad is his messenger. It provides direction and discipline, which is another core reason why many convert. The inaccurate portrayal of Islam in Western media has led to an increase in verbal and physical abuse experienced by Muslims. However, this has neither changed their beliefs nor values, and this has been evident in the continuously growing number of Muslims around the world.
Born in a Christian country, I was raised as a Christian, and I've always been very respectful of Islam, and it's become more and more obvious to me and more pertinent that Islam is the last religion on the planet. It's just, for me, it feels like the last religion on earth. I feel like there's no other religion. People say to me, why did you convert? And I said, I don't really feel it as a conversion. It's almost like I knew God was real and now I've become religious. And they say, well, you were religious before. I was like, religious before how? Christian? What does Christian mean? Like, who's not a Christian? You go to Christian nations and everyone says they're a Christian. Look how they live their lives. Go into the average church. Is anyone actually fearful of God? Anybody? No, the girls are out on Saturday night drinking and then they turn up to church because their parents made them. Islam very closely reflects my personal beliefs. Through my personal life, I've learned that if you don't have standards and you're not a strong person who's prepared to defend his ideas, you'll be crushed.
Yes.
And we look at most religions in the world today which are not prepared to defend their ideas. What's happened to them? They're just getting crushed. And
I'm Harun, the American Muslim revert. I'm 43 years old. If you just go and you follow the teachings and you read the Quran and you read the Sunnah of the Prophet, then you're going to know what this religion is. You cannot take this religion from what one person said or what one website said or what one preacher had published a book about. You need to go and look at it yourself and you will find the truth. But the only way that you're going to have the truth in your heart is asking God to bring it into your heart. You must go and submit yourself, open yourself up to God. If you believe in God, open yourself up and let Him show you the right way. There are some people that have been misguided, that do have evil and hatred, and they are lovers of this life. They're not really followers of our religion, because our religion promotes peace and submission to one God. And it's in the name. Salam is salam, and that's peace. If our religion is named peace, how can it be that this religion is such terrorist and horrible people?
I do not believe Jesus is God. My concept of Jesus was that he's a man, he's a human being, he's a prophet of God, and there's no way I was going to accept that Jesus is God. So this was the first instance where I started to question, well, what is the right religion? Because I did believe in God, and my concept of God was what my concept of God is today. We can't imagine God. He's one, he's something beyond our comprehension. But there was no way I was going to accept that Jesus is God. So this was shocking for me. From a young age, I knew, what's going on. About 7 years old, I remember being in Sunday school in church. We had to write a song about God, and my song was called Jesus and God. And that was the chorus. It was like a rap. And I remember the pastor, one of the youth workers, he took the piece of paper and changed the words. So originally my song was Jesus and God, and the pastor changed it to Jesus is God. And around 7 years old, I was like, what? Where I realized that I don't believe in this faith. All my family, my friends, my community, they're all following this religion, and it doesn't make sense. It was very eye-opening.
If you enjoy videos like this, make sure to click the bell icon and subscribe to our channel. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel. Bye.